Alright guys, here's the homework for section 4.4. Here we're asked to solve each equation using the quadratic formula. So if you guys don't remember it, let's go ahead and write that down first. So the quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And x can be any variable that our quadratic equation holds. For example, on number 1 here, our variable is v, so we just change this to v. My a, my b, and my c are the coefficients in front of the squared, the single variable term, and then the constant term. So let's go ahead and try number 1 first. Number 1 says v squared plus 2v minus 8 is equal to 0. We can only use the quadratic equation when our we can only use the quadratic formula when our quadratic equation is equal to 0. So before you start using this, make sure that your equation is equal to 0. If not, then make sure you do your manipulations to make it equal 0. My a here is 1, my b is 2, and my c is negative 8. Now that I know that, I can just go ahead and plug into my formula here. So it's v is equal to negative b. My b is 2, so negative b is negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, and all of that is over 2 times a, 2a. Let's go ahead and simplify this a bit. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared is 4. 4 times 1 is 1 times negative 8 is minus negative 32. Negative negative is positive, and then 2 times 1 is of course 2. So simplify it a bit more. It's negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 32 is 36. This is just plus 2. Simplify even further. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 36 is 6 all over 2. So here my v is equal to negative 2 plus 6, which is 4 over 2 is 2. Or v is equal to negative 2 minus 6, which is negative 8, divided by 2 is negative 4. So there are my two solutions there. Alright, number 2. Number 2 is k squared plus 5k minus 6 is equal to 0. Here my a is 1, my b is 5, and my c is negative 6. So my quadratic equation is, quadratic formula, k equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So here I get negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24 all over 2. Here we get negative 5 plus or minus 25 plus 24 is 49. Let's go to 49 all over 2. Alright, now we can take the square root of 49, which is 7. So negative 5 plus or minus 7 all over 2. So our final answer is k equals negative 5 plus 7, which is 2 over 2, 1. Or k equals negative 5 minus 7, which is negative 12, divided by 2 is negative 6. Alright, number 3. Number 3 is 2v squared minus 5v plus 3. 2v squared minus 5v plus 3 is equal to 0. My a is 2, my b is negative 5, and my c is positive 3. So v is equal to negative b. My b is already negative, so negative becomes a positive, so positive 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 5 squared. Make sure that you put it in parentheses if you're going to put it in your calculator, minus 4 times a times c all over 2a, 2 times 2. So that reduces to positive 5 plus or minus the square root of 25. Negative 5 times negative 5 is 25, minus 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. So all of this inside the square root reduces to just 1. And of course all over 4. So now that we have that, we can reduce it even further. The square root of 1 is 1. So we get 5 plus or minus 1 all over 4. So v is equal to 5 plus 1, which is 6 over 4. 6 over 4 reduces to 3 over 2. We can reduce each term by 2, sorry. So that's 3 over 2. Or v is equal to 5 minus 1, which is 4, divided by 4 is 1. So there are two answers. Alright, number 4. Number 4 says 2a squared minus a minus 13 is equal to 2. Here's the first time that we see that it's not equal to 0, so the first thing I have to do is move this 2 to the other side by subtracting 2 from both sides. So now we get 2a squared minus a, right? Minus a? Yes, minus a. Negative 13 minus 2 is negative 15. And now it does equal 0. So now my a here is 2. My b here is 1, negative 1. My c is negative 15. So my quadratic formula is a is equal to negative b. It's already negative, so negative negative 1 is positive 1. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 1 squared, minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So 2 times 2. So now from here we get 1 plus or minus. Here negative 1 squared is positive 1. Minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 15 is 15 times 8. That's 40. Here's 4. That's 120. Minus negative 15, so that's negative 120. 1 minus negative 120, so we're adding there. That's 121. So the square root of 121. All over 2 times 2, which is 4. The square root of 121 is 11, so we get 1 plus or minus 11 all over 4. So a is equal to 1 plus 11, which is 12, divided by 4, 3. Or a is equal to 1 minus 11, which is 10 over 4. 10 over 4 reduces to 5 over 2. So there are my two answers. Alright, let's try and fit this next one down here. Number 5. Number 5 is 2n squared minus n minus 4 is equal to 2. Again, it does not equal 0, so make sure that you subtract 2 from both sides so that it does equal 0. So now we get 2n squared minus n minus 6 is equal to 0. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 6. My a is 2, my b is negative 1, and my c is negative 6. So now n is equal to negative b, so it's negative negative 1, which is positive 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Alright, let's simplify our radical here. Negative 1 squared is positive 1, minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 6 is 48. Negative 48 minus a negative 48. So 1 minus a negative 48 is 1 plus 48. So there we get 1 plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. The square root of 49 is 7, so now it reduces to 1 plus or minus 7 all over 4. So n is equal to 1 plus 7, which is 8, divided by 4, 2. Or n is equal to 1 minus 7, which is 6. Negative 6, sorry. Negative 6. This should be negative. 1 minus 10 is negative 10, so this should be negative. Same thing here. 1 minus 7 is negative 6, divided by 4 is negative 6 over 4. That reduces to negative 3 over 2. Alright, let's keep going. Number 6. Number 6 says b squared minus 4b minus 14 equals negative 2. Alright, same concept here. It does not equal 0. So make sure that you add the 2 to both sides this time. So now we get b squared minus 4b minus 12 is equal to 0. Excuse me. My a is equal to 1, my b is equal to negative 4, and my c is negative 12. So here b, let's stick with x so we don't confuse ourselves. X is equal to negative b, negative 4 is positive 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So now we get 4 plus or minus. Let's see if we can reduce this part. Negative 4 squared is negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. Minus 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 12 is 48. Negative 48. So negative 16 minus 48. So that's plus a 48 there. 48 plus 16 is 50. Plus 14 is 64. Is that correct? Yes, it is. So the square root of 64 all over 2. The square root of 64 is 8. So far all of our square roots have been pretty. That's 4 plus or minus 8 over 2. Hopefully they stay pretty. 4 plus 8 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6, so b is equal to 6. Or b is equal to 4 minus 8, which is negative 4, divided by 2, negative 2. Boom. Alright, number 7. Number 7 says, what does number 7 say? 8n squared minus 4n equals 18. It does not equal 0, so we have to subtract this 18. Subtract 18, subtract 18. 8n squared minus 4n minus 18 equals 0. My a is 8, my b is negative 4, and my c is a negative 18. Alright, so n is equal to negative b, which is negative 4, so positive 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, negative 4 squared is positive 16 minus 4 times 8 is 32. 32 times 18 is Let's see if I can do this on the side. 32 is 30 plus 2, 18 is 10 plus 8, 300 plus 32 is 240, that's 20, and that is 16. 300 plus that is 540. 20 plus 16 is 36. So I get 576. Let's see if I did that correctly. Yeah, that turned out correctly. And that's a negative 576, since my 18 here was negative. 4 times 8 is 32, positive. Positive 32 times negative is negative 576, and then the minus is right there. 16 plus 576 is 592. So here we have n is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of 592. Is 592 a perfect square? Let's double check that. 592. It is not, so let's factor it. Factors of 592 are 2 for sure. So 592 divided by 2, that's 2, 4, 9, so that's 9, 18, 1, 4, 294. 2 and 294 is 294 a perfect square? 294. It is not. However, I can factor it as 2 again. So 294 divided by 2, 1, and then 9. So that's 4, 8, 9, 14, 147. 147 is 147 a perfect square. 147. It is not. What are some factors of 147? Let's see, let's try dividing it by 7 maybe? 7 works. 7 and 21, and then 21 is 3 and 7. So here I have a pair, and then here I also have a pair, so I can bring those out. And then what's left inside is this 3. Right, so this is 16. 2 times 8 is 16. So my 592 actually factored out into 4 times 49 times 3. 2 times 2 is 4, 7 times 7 is 49, and the 3 stays there. My 4 and my 49 are a perfect square, so I can take the square root of those, and then those two go out, and I can multiply those. So what that would look like is n is equal to, well, first let's see, let's visualize the square root first. So the square root of 592 is equal to the square root of 4 times the square root of 49 times the square root of 3. This is 2, this is 7, and this is 3. And again, we're still multiplying everything out, so when you bring it out of the radical, make sure that you multiply those two numbers. So now is this 4 plus or minus 2 times 7 is 14 times the square root of 3 over 16. Right, now that we've reduced our radical, now we can reduce our fraction. All of these numbers have 2 as a common factor, so I can reduce it by 2. Here 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 14 7 times, and 2 goes into 16 8 times. So there's my answer. 2 plus 7 times the square root of 3, all over 8. Alright, number 8. Number 8 is 8a squared plus 6a equals negative 5. Does not equal 0, so make sure that you add 5 to both sides. So we get 8a squared plus 6a plus 5 is equal to 0. Now we can use our quadratic formula. A equals 8, B equals 6, and C equals positive 5. A is equal to the negative b, so negative 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's 36, 6 and 6, 36, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. Let's go ahead and reduce our radical here. 36 will stay as 36 minus 4 times 8 is 32. 32 times 5 is 160. Minus 160. Is that correct? Yes, it is. 36 minus 160 is 36 minus 160 is negative 124. So a is equal to negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 124 all over 16. Some factors of 124, let's see, 1 for sure, 2 for sure, since it's even. 124 divided by, let's see if we can do something bigger. 24 divided by 8 maybe? No. Divided by 6 maybe? No. By 9? No. 16? No. So let's stay with 4. 2, sorry. No, let's try 4. 4 works. 124 factors out into 31 and 4. And also times negative 1, don't forget about that one. So all of this is still under the square roots. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 31 stays. It's also actually a prime number, so that doesn't factor out anymore. And the square root of 1, remember, is I. So now we just put our pieces together. A is equal to negative 6 plus or minus 2i times the square root of 31 all over 16. Now that we've reduced our radical, now it's time to reduce our fraction. 2 goes into these numbers, all of these numbers, so we're going to reduce all of them by 2. So here we get negative 6, 2 goes into negative 6, negative 3 times, plus or minus. 2 goes into 2 one time. We could just leave that out and just replace it with the I instead. Square root of 31 all over, and 16 goes into 2. 2 goes into 16 8 times. Jesus, I messed that up. And that's it. Alright guys, that's it. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them at the comments, and if you have any, I'll get to them as quickly as I can.